next for...
Hey, this is Todd O'Clock. We are back at the video show at booth 300 with TIVA. We are excited to bring you another round of interviews with folks who are attending, being a part of the content creators, visionaries, storytellers, everything that makes up what the video show is. For those who are just tuning in, video show is another name for replacing what was called the GV Expo. So it is my pleasure to sit down with should I call it, I mean, you heard all the names, Titan, frontiersman, trendsetter, provocateur, investigator, diplomat.
Just journalist.
Journalist, how about that, journalist.
That's all.
With journalist Roland Martin. Tell me a little bit about why you are here today, because this is a DC event, but I think it's also kind of an epicenter event.
My company, we're based here in DC. Been here since 2010. And we launched the digital show September last year. Had a pretty good year. Did about 100 million views, 345 million minutes watched. We took our YouTube channel from 130,000 subscribers to today 408,000. So that's in 14 months. Not bad growth. But it was also not new to me. So when I ran the Chicago Defender, I launched the first black news source audio podcast in 2005. And then I launched a video podcast in 2006. And so even before that, when I ran the blackamericaweb.com, Tom Jones' website, in 2001, 2003, we were doing audio and video then. So this is not new to me. And so now with the digital show, in terms of the sessions, but also with the vendors being able, because for me it's always a matter of, what's new is different. I'm going to Ghana in a couple of weeks, and I'm always about being able, how can I do more with less in terms of how you utilize gear, things along those lines. And so always just trying to stay on top of the game.
So let's talk a little bit about what is the conversation that you're most excited about pursuing today? I know it sounds like an odd question.
Well, it's simple. That is, what is happening is, look, you got one African American who has a show in prime time on cable news. That's it. African Americans are saying we want more information. I had the only black daily morning show. First of all, I had the only black targeted Sunday morning show on TV1 from 2009, 2013, and daily show, morning show from 2013, 2017. There was nobody else. Today, there's nobody else. There are 8 black cable networks that target African Americans. It's video 1,344 hours of content a week, not 1 hour dedicated to news. So what you're seeing is that the Nielsen report shows you 3 million African Americans are listening to podcasts every single week, consuming information, wanting information, but they're not being able to get it. And so for me is how do we do this? So we created this single show. Now what we're actually doing is developing an actual network. There are about 20 to 25 people who I've actually targeted. And so now it's a matter of, okay, how do we then, as we're building this, how do we then pull in folks from other cities, what types of different shows, and understand the technology and how all of those pieces work. And so for a lot of folks, they assume that, well, I do the stuff in front of the camera. Now realizing that I went to communications magnet school in Houston, so we have to learn also behind the camera. So I understand both. And so when I'm sitting there on set, and that's why coming here, I'm not just, the person who's sitting here doing interviews. I'm also very familiar with camera streaming service in terms of how all the pieces work, because that plays a role in terms of how we're able to actually be larger and do different things. And so like even 2 o'clock this morning, I got up and I was sitting there thinking, okay, if I use this app and do a green screen, how can I get that into, so when I'm in Ghana, so I mean, that's sort of how it's always working.
So let's talk about that. My perspective I bring from 2 experiences in Africa. I was in the Gambia and Tanzania, probably 7 years ago. In the Gambia, I was there by invitation of a now not deposed but removed president, Yahya Jammeh. But we're there documenting his presidential tour and the Roots Festival. Tanzania was a couple of different projects. So tell me, why is Ghana the destination of interest right now?
It's because out of all of the, first of all, Ghana was the first country to get independence. Kwame Nkrumah studied at Lincoln University. Dr. King, as well as John H. Johnson, they were part of the delegation, the American delegation that went there when he was sworn in. And so out of all the African nations, they have been the most aggressive at really having an African-American alliance. And so I was talking to Rosario Dawson, and she said last year They processed about 70,000 visas. This year, they think they're going to do about 800,000. So it was Ghana that focused on the phrase, the year of return. The 400th anniversary of the slave trade happening in the United States. And so they have been far more aggressive in doing, so they've had a lot of different things. I've had a Ghanaian ambassador on my show. In fact, I'm going to be interviewing the president of Ghana when I go there as well. And so, and again, so even with that, so this whole, I'm sure, because I plan on doing my show from there. And so I've already got a film crew.
Equipment and how
no, really got something that I'm bringing. But then also I've already got a film crew there for us to do all these different things. Grab 2 more drones because I don't a lot. Again, so I'm for me is I'm already sitting looking at, okay, the aerial shots, slave castles, all the different things that we want to be able to do. And also, how do we tell the story, then come back and put that together for a 2-hour special that we're actually going to stream, but not just, but the idea with that, I'm not just going to stream it on my platforms. I'm targeting about 30 to 50 celebrities who I know, where I want to be able to utilize the Switchboard Live platform, streaming simultaneously on their Facebook pages as well.
So you're not slowing down.
Oh, no.
You're not slowing down.
No.
So there's a lot more.
This is a game changer. The beauty of what was happening with live streaming is I don't have to be boxed in. The reality is linear television, you're boxed in. Here your commercial stops. Okay, it's a 1-hour show. That's it. Wait till tomorrow. So we, like, for instance, we were doing a 1-hour show. I extended that show now to an hour and a half. With what we do 5 days a week and then how we stream it on a weekend, I'm actually adding what is the equivalent of 14 more shows per month by streaming it. So when I look at the monetization, I'm going, okay, I got an hour show, I'm doing 20 shows a month. If I take it to an hour and a half, I'm essentially doing 34 hours. And so again, it's just thinking totally different.
So are you an advocate for promoting, preaching more involvement, more democratization, more young voices, new voices, perspectives, getting into the conversation?
2 words, freedom and flexibility. The reality is current cable and broadcast news is extremely limiting. What this is, there are no gatekeepers now. The reality is...
You're the gatekeeper.
Right, and so the point is, I'm not waiting for MSNBC or CNN or Fox to say, okay, we're going to give you a show. No, I'm good. I'm good. And then I can decide what I cover, how I cover, where I want to cover, where we go live from. You know, when we've done conferences and rallies, all sorts of different things. So we're not waiting. I did an interview with Spike Lee from the YouTube studio in New York. We went live straight from there. I didn't have to ask somebody, well, can we go? Okay, how long can we go? It was like, yo, when Spike stops talking, we're done.
So I hate to say what's next, because I feel like I know what's next, and that is limitless. It really is limitless.
No limits.
And so we did a little thing on podcasting and streaming, and the woman who was there, who does a lot of help getting people set up, said, look, I'm excited about this because it is increasing the opportunity for previously marginalized voices, no matter where you put them, to have that participation in a conversation. And I said, I love that, and there's a benevolence to that. But is there, and this is the other side of it, is there a risk to opening up, and democracy is about, First Amendment. Is there a risk, though, to that voice, which is the voice of hate, derision, division, also participating?
Well, first of all, it's always going to be there. Look, the explosion. Who took advantage of digital or online first? The porn industry. Okay. Who took advantage of VHS and beta first? The porn industry. All right. So just because, so that's always going to happen. But that's always been the case. So whether you had newspapers, whether you had newsletters, whether you had websites, it's always been the case. But what this does, though, is it allows for, again, for folks who say, I built a personal brand, and I'm not having to wait for someone else to say, hey, we now acknowledge you and you can go ahead and do this. That's what's changed the game, and I think that's that's why this is so great, and how I sort of view this whole deal, because we don't have to wait. When there was a rally, these black women organized a rally for Congressman Ilhan Omar on the Mall in Washington. We live streamed the entire deal. Other folks, did the other networks cover it? No. If they did, maybe they gave it 15 seconds. We did the entire deal. So utilizing one camera, a Teradek video, and a Verizon MiFi. Again, that changes. And so thousands of people saw this rally, heard these speakers who otherwise would have never even known. We're doing things where people are like, damn, I didn't realize this exists.
Exactly.
And that's the piece that people don't understand.
Yeah.
There are things that gatekeepers are not covering, and so we're able to say, that's fine, we got it.
Exactly. And I would say, I'll toot your horn, whatever. You bring a Roland Martin believability and truth-telling, which if people have heard you, know what they're going to get.
And that's the piece. When you ask the question, first of all, really what separates.
Right.
This is what the audience wants to know. Can I trust you?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, can I trust what you're reporting and what you're saying? And so everybody out there who wants to do a podcast, I'm like, that's good. You want to do a digital show, that's fine. But the question is, do you bring the integrity and the credibility where the audience says, I trust what you have to say?
Yeah.
That's still what separates anybody who has a camera who's just talking.
Yep.
Versus somebody saying, okay, I believe this person because they have a track record where they've gotten it right, and that's who I'm going to follow. And so that's also what I keep telling people. You can't ignore the integrity and the credibility part of this, because otherwise, that's what's going to separate just anybody just yapping versus somebody saying, no, I want to hear him or her.
And I think there is value, because you've been consistent. You have given people a chance to return again and again to the perspective you're bringing.
And that's why they return.
And exactly, I think that is the best advice you could give. So, yeah, anyone can pick up a piece of equipment from any table in this room, but what you do with it and what you are saying to people, when you're asking them to pay attention, is the key. It's
and that's why I tell people, if you do it, you have to honor the journal. That's why I say it. You can go all those titles. I'm a journalist.
Yeah.
This is what I do. There's some people who are just talking. But do you have that? Or are you just a media personality? Sean Hannity ain't a journalist. You just yapping, okay? You're a media personality. But the question is, are you going to sit there and lie to people? And people are going to judge you for that. That's why I tell people, you can't play around with this. When you put that microphone on, you can't play games with this.
Exactly.
Because the person who's listening to you, they're saying, do I trust this person? That's why people say, why do you interrupt folks in your show? I'm like, because if they start lying, I can't let the lie continue, because if you're watching it and I never say anything, you're going to go, well, what they're saying must be true.
By default.
There you go.
So give me a little bit of information. How do people find you now?
We live stream every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope simultaneously.
It's called?
Every single day, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Okay.
They can follow Roland S. Martin on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Hit me on Facebook as well, the YouTube channel. And the most important thing is we go live at 6 p.m. Eastern, but what we also do is we restream the show 8 times in a 24-hour period. And what it has done is the people who watch at 6 p.m. are different than people who watch at 10 p.m.
all the time.
And they've actually have created, in essence, their own community. So they come back and it's like, so they're communicating amongst themselves. So there's like a 6 p.m., a 10 p.m., and a 2 a.m., and a 6 a.m., and a 10 a.m. crew who all watch at the same time. And so people go, well, why do you restream? I said, because I don't care about one video having 100,000 views.
Right,
Give me 12 videos having 100,000, it's the same thing. Plus, you have a level of engagement, because if you watch VOD, it's just you watching.
Right.
But when a group of you are watching at the same time at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're in California, it's 11 p.m. See, so I'm not all worried about, okay, it has to be this one video. My ego is fine. I don't need one video having a number of views. I want to make it easier for the viewer to access the content.
So when will we start seeing those drone shots from Ghana?
I leave December 19th and land December 20th. And so
you're there this year?
Yeah, I'll be there for 10 days.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, there's a young friend of mine, I call him younger because he's younger than me, named Diallo Sumbri, who, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he is arranging for some of those visas to take place. So he's taking folks from DC, African American folks, they're buying land, they are claiming heritage and celebrating birthrights.
Akon has been really emphasizing African Americans
Solar Village.
acquiring land in Ghana as well. So we've got some great interviews lined up with expatriates, folks who've actually been living there for 30 years.
Wow.
So we've got some really, really good stuff lined up.
I'm going to tell Diallo to try to find you, because he's there now. He is you. When you discover him, you're going to be like, well, I didn't realize this was happening from DC.
Yeah, I was there 11 years ago, And so everybody keeps saying, Roland, you have no idea how much Ghana has changed since you were last here. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I can't wait to hear that story. It's been a pleasure talking to you, meeting you.
Thanks
Keep up the good work, brother.
Will do.
It's always about content, but it's about passion and it's about spirit as well.
Absolutely.
So, we're here at the video show, the DC Convention Center. Come down, and I think Roland, you're going to be here for some of the day.
I'll be here today and tomorrow.
Yeah, check out. Tap Roland on the shoulder. He may turn around. And
I'm not in the
hello.
session. I'm just listening and dropping in. So I'm all good.
Doing his thing.
I'm just hanging out.
Exactly. So words of advice we can always learn to live by. This is Todd Clark from TIVA, the video show here at the DC Convention Center. We'll see you in just a few minutes.